Mr. Chairman, and to the Credentials Committee, my name is Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer, and I live at 626 East Lafayette Street, Ruleville, Mississippi, Sunflower County, the home of Senator James O. Eastland and Senator Stennis. It was 31st of August in 1962 that 18 of us traveled 26 miles to the county courthouse in Indianola to try to register to become first-class citizens. We was met in Indianola by policemen, highway patrolmen, and they only allowed 2 of us in to take the literacy test at that time. After we had taken this test and started back to Ruleville, we was held up by the city police and the state highway patrolmen and carried back to Indianola, where the bus driver was charged that day with driving a bus the wrong color. After we paid the fine among us, we continued on to Ruleville, and Reverend Jeff Sonny carried me 4 miles in the rural area where I had worked as a timekeeper and a sharecropper for 18 years. I was met there by my children, who told me the plantation owner was angry because I had gone down to try to register. After they told me, my husband came and said the plantation owner was raising Cain because I had tried to register. Before he quit talking, the plantation owner came and said, "Fannie Lou, do you know, did Pap tell you what I said?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, I mean that. He said if you don't go down and withdraw your registration, you will have to leave. He said, then if you do go down and withdraw, he said, you still might have to go because we are not ready for that in Mississippi." And I addressed him, and I said, "I didn't try to register for you. I tried to register for myself." I had to leave that same night. On the 10th of September, 1962, 16 bullets was fired into the home of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Tucker for me. That same night, 2 girls were shot in Ruleville, Mississippi, and Mr. Joe McDonald's house was shot in. And June the 9th, 1963, I had attended a voter registration workshop. I was returning back to Mississippi, 10 of us traveling by the Continental Trailway bus. When we got to Winona, Mississippi, which is Montgomery County, 4 of the people got off to use the washroom, and 2 of the people to use the restaurant, and 2 of the people wanted to use the washroom. The 4 people who had gone in to use the restaurant was ordered out. During this time I was on the bus, but when I looked through the window and saw that they had rushed out, I got off the bus to see what had happened. And one of the ladies said, "It was a highway patrolman and the chief of police that ordered us out." I got back on the bus, and one of the persons who had used the washroom got back on the bus too. As soon as I was seated on the bus, I saw when they began to get the 5 people in a highway patrolman's car. I stepped off the bus to see what was happening, and somebody screamed from the car that the 5 workers was in and said, "Get that one there." When I went to get in the car, when the man told me I was under arrest, he kicked me. I was carried to the county jail and put in the booking room. They left some of the people in the booking room and began to place us in cells. I was placed in a cell with a young woman called Miss Vesta Simpson, and after I was placed in that cell, I began to hear sounds of licks and screams. I could hear the sounds of licks and horrible screams, and I could hear someone say, "Can you say yes, sir, nigger? Can you say yes, sir?" And they would say other horrible names. She would say, "Yes, I can say yes, sir." "So we'll say it," she said. "I don't know you well enough." They beat her. I don't know how long. And after a while she began to pray, and she asked God to have mercy on those people. And it wasn't too long before 3 white men came to my cell. One of these men was a state highway patrolman, and he asked me where I was from. I told him Ruleville, and he said, "We are going to check this." They left my cell, and it wasn't too long before they came back. He said, "You are from Ruleville, all right," and he used a curse word, and he said, "We're going to make sure you wish you was dead." I was carried out of that cell into another cell, where they had 2 Negro prisoners. The state highway patrolman ordered the first Negro to take the blackjack. The first Negro prisoner ordered me, by orders of the state highway patrolman, for me to lay down on a bunk bed on my face. I laid on my face, and the first Negro began to beat me. I was beat by the first Negro until he was exhausted. I was holding my hands behind me at the time on my left side because I suffered from polio when I was 6 years old. After the first Negro had beat me until he was exhausted, the state highway patrolman ordered the second Negro to take the blackjack. The second Negro began to beat, and I began to work my feet, and the state patrolman ordered the first Negro who had beaten me to sit on my feet, to keep me from working my feet. I began to scream, and one white man got up and began to beat me in my head and tell me to hush. One white man, my dress had worked up high. He walked over and pulled my dress. I pulled my dress down, and he pulled my dress back up. I was in jail when Medgar Evans was killed. All of this on account of we want to register to become first-class citizens. And if the Freedom Democratic Party is not seated now, I question America. Is this America? The land of the free and the home of the brave, where we have to sleep with our telephones off the hooks because our lives be threatened daily, because we want to live as decent human beings in America? Thank you.